Hello and welcome to ET Auto, a Startup Adda, a station for innovation. This is the third episode, and this show is dedicated to the new age entrepreneurs, startup founders, and innovators. In this episode, we have somebody who has been trying to ride on the electrification drive that Indian automobile industry is moving towards. We have already seen over 16 states have announced their EV policy, and at least six are in the pipeline. They will announce in the next few months or weeks. We have seen the electric vehicle demand has been also on rise. If you look at the last month's number, there has been a massive spike. So we have here with us the founder of Okinawa Scooters. It's an electric scooter company. Founder is not new to the automobile industry. He has spent decades in two-wheeler space, working in Hero Motocorp. Then he worked with the Yamaha two-wheeler. That's another Japanese two-wheeler manufacturing firm, and he is leading a bootstrap company, and the company has been doing fairly well. So we'll try to understand how did he manage to build a company, become a scooter manufacturer, which calls for millions of investment. It takes a lot of time to develop different parts of a vehicle. How did he manage in a short span of time, and how the new startup founders or those who want to build their own company, or they want to indulge in entrepreneurship, or those who want to uh, take a leap into this journey will get a lot to learn. I also have here with me today the expert, Mr. Vinay Piparsania, having over 3 decades of leadership experience in automobile industry. He is currently CEO of the endowment fund at IIT Delhi. He has keen interest in startups, but I tell you, he is an automotive veteran. He was leading Ford in India. He has been with Ford for 2 decades. He has been with a president of TVS Automobile and many other automobile giants at many geographies, at many roles. It would be time will be very limited to talk about his career, but he is a veteran and he is going to be expert. He will give his expert comment on the electric scooter space and the companies like Okinawa. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining in ET Auto Startup Adda, station for innovation. For the users and viewers, please post your questions using hashtag Startup Adda. So let's begin by understanding, Jitendra, how when were you bitten by the bug of starting your own venture? You have spent quite 2 decades, more than 2 decades as an executive in a two-wheeler company. How did the idea of starting off came in? You were having a very secure, safe job. So can you share with us what really inspired you?
Yeah, of course, Nabeel. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me on this platform. So, as you share, also I work in actually it's what not Yamaha or Hero Motocorp. I work with the Honda two wheelers actually for 15 years, and before that I worked with LML scooters. So when I was working in that company, of course I travel a lot abroad also and different part of the world. So I seen one important thing: the people are very much thought about their environment, and they always talk about the new technology, new innovations. So I have worked in the when I worked in the Honda. So I was taking care of the supply quality assurance operation, and I was looking for the development of new components, new models, and establish the new suppliers to come up on the board of on the two-wheelers. So when I see that journey, so I thought I should do something different. So then I quit in working with Honda 15 years and then started this Okinawa, my own venture. Of course, it was not a cakewalk. It was a little very, it was a, initial days was lots of struggles. And when I started this venture, many people told me, Mr. Sharma, you are doing a suicide. It is not that, because that time people don't have any confidence on the electric two wheelers. They, because the past was not so good for the electric two wheelers. Experience of the consumer was not good for the electric two wheelers, because that time the vehicle which was running on Indian roads, They don't have the technology, they don't have the loading capacity, they don't have the performance. And people always compare the electric vehicle with the IC engine. So they always feel that the EV is not the future, EV is not the new technology or the innovation which will come or you can compare with the IC engine. So they always don't encourage me, frankly speaking, they always told me this is not the right decision. But I took a decision because whenever you want to start something, you must have to be very passionate about what you are going to do. So I always believe that never give up if you want to do something and you have a courage to do something, then only you can succeed. And that's why even my family, my wife, they supported a lot to me. And then in
Jitendra,
2015, I
so
started my career.
I'll just take the story further. Just want to understand what kind of family background you come from. Means, are they mostly into business or they are working professionals? But before that, I'll also apologize to you and to the audience for wrongly putting the name of the companies where you work. Just want to understand what kind of setup you come from. You are a Gurgaon boy. Just want to understand, is it the business mostly that the family takes up, or they are professionals mostly?
No, no, I am not from the. My family background is not from the business class. I'm totally belongs to the service class, and my family all are in the professional working. When my wife, she's a doctor, and my parents, they, my father, he was also worked in a government job. So I'm not from that background. Don't have any legacy of any business. So that was my, you can say, decision to just to start as a first entrepreneur in my family, and I took that decision and take that risk also. I would say because I was at a very good position. I'm enjoying that position. But when I take this risk, so many people told me, my family told me, why you are taking this risk? But when you have to start something, you want to build something, you have to take that risk, which I think. And a
And then
startup,
there are
yeah, please.
several components that makes a two-wheeler, right? And if you are really want to produce a quality product, you have to get into the specifics of each product, right? Every product. So you have to design with immaculate, understanding of details of each components. And there are thousands of components that goes into a two-wheeler. Just want to understand in such a quick span of time, how did you design all this component? Did you design, develop, and produce by yourself, or is it that you went on to import from somewhere initial phase, or even right now, and we were doing only few part or trying to assemble this product and make it into a e-scooter?
Yeah.
Because in such a short time, such a low investment, how did you do it? Because it's an inspiring thing for others to know how they can manage such a huge and complex supply chain and product parts that is used in two-wheeler.
Yeah. Nabil, when we started this company in 2015, that time I want to develop this vehicle as a whole in India. But that time, of course, there is a challenge for the supply chain. When we talk about the volume, nobody wants to come forward because they always think that the volume is not there, so there is no business sense. But fortunately, when we launched this product, that time, the day we launched in 2017, took 2 years to launch our product because 2 years we do a rigorous testing. We made the prototype vehicle in India. We do a rigorous testing in different part of India. And after 2 years, when we launched, that time we have around 59 to 62% parts are localized. That time, even we could do that as a company. And remaining parts, of course, that time we were importing, but that was our some of the parts of our own design. We have the IPR for that, and our suppliers globally they made those parts based on our design and supply to us. But fortunately, as of today, after a journey of last 4 5 years, when we started from 2017, our launch of first product till date, we could able to do 92% parts localized in India, and we have a supply chain in India only. And that is because of my experience in that field of the automobile of 20 years working that. And as I told you, my forte was to take develop the new components, new models, and take care of the suppliers who was on board. So we understand this technology, we understand the all the category of this commodity of this two-wheeler, whether it's a casting, electronics parts, plastic parts, or you can say chassis, everything. I know the suppliers, how to make that, what is the process. So all these things we already done in last 20 years. So that was our strength, and we could do this in the last 5 years, and that is the reason when the FAME 2 comes in India in 2019, government has announced Okinawa was the first company who got this FAME 2 certification.
How many total units you have sold so far? And
In last from 2017 till date, we have sold more than 90,000 vehicles, and they are successfully running on the Indian roads.
so, which segment you are trying to focus? Because Fame 2 has completely, changed the, criteria for electric scooters. Earlier, it used to be low speed. Now, mid speed scooters are going to be in demand. So, how did you, change your strategy? Because the market has completely shifted, and how are you trying to cope up with this kind of shift?
If you see, Nabeel, when we launched our first product, also that was also the high speed, and we was the company who launched first product in the mass production in 2017 for the high speed. So as on today, our portfolio we have around five product there, and out of the three are the high speed product. So our more than 70% product we sell only high speed products, and we also understand, as I come from this automobile sector, I know in the, if you talk about the IC, there is no slow speed vehicles. So our thought process is also that in future is going to only the high speed vehicle which remains in the market. So as a company, Okinawa, we only focus for the high speed product only.
So, just want to understand, taking this further, you said 90,000 units you have sold. What kind of market, what kind of customer segment you have been focusing for your, product?
If you see, as a company Okinawa, our product is a family product, because India we always target the mass market, because in the automobile industry, the two, especially the two wheeler, it's a mass market. It's a family driven product, because in India when we go for the two wheeler, it's always a decision of the family, because it's a safety matter of the family, as well as the people also go for 5 years to 10 years. It's not like that mobile phone you buy it and maybe after 1 year you just throw it and change the new phone. So it's a complete decision of families. Okinawa always believe in the family product, which will deliver the expectation of the customer, who also take care of their family, like they can drive two people very easily, as the same thing happen in the IC engine. So Okinawa product is always compared in terms of performance, in terms of the look and feel, the size, and everything is compared with the IC engine. So we call as a family product oriented company.
Jitender, we have seen a lot of companies have startups have come up in electric scooter space, and the sales numbers are not publicly revealed. Only occasions like this we ask, and that too, the company directly shares. We do not have any verified numbers also, but we have seen a lot of claims coming up. So, do you guys want to bring in some more, organized numbers, or how are you going to give some standardized data for the industry? Are you guys working towards this? How
Yeah, of
do
course.
the industrial tech, understand this, that it is factually correct or incorrect? How do we get that standardization?
Of course, I think this should happen. Actually, it's as on today, if you talk about the EV, there is a lots of mushrooming is happening. Lots of new players are coming, and especially those people are working on the slow speed vehicle, and that is the reason there is a not a organized data available in the any forum. So I think as a company, as a stakeholder, we and other old company, they are working on that, and very soon we are coming on that platform where everyone will share their sale data, so that the consolidated figure comes on the platform, and everybody knows how the EV market is growing. And very soon, I think it's going to happen.
As you were taking plunge into this entrepreneurship, what were your biggest fear or apprehension, and how did you overcome that?
I think if you ask me as an entrepreneur, there is a no fear. If you ask my personal opinion, but of course, fear is about the awareness. In the second way, because as on today, till last year, there is a very less awareness about the electric vehicles, EV companies, whether the good product is available in the market, because people don't understand this technology. Actually, they always feel that because everybody born with the IC engine, and they always compare IC engine with the EV, and they always think that okay, the EV is always the second product when they want to buy for their family for the second or the third product, then they will buy for EV. But now the perception is changing. So in my thought process is like that. Of course, if there is a lot of awareness is there, the fear factor is about the consumer perception only. Because the consumer, there is a lots of myth about the electric vehicles in the consumer's mind, and that is the only fear factor for us. But now we are breaking one by one, and I think in a period of some time, I think people understand this technology, people understand the good product, performance product, and they will go for it.
Jitender, as you also said that there are a lot of companies coming in this space. We have seen some massive giants coming up with huge investments. Do you feel nervous? How will you scale up? You are a bootstrapped company. Do you plan to raise funds, or how do you want to counter this surge in electric two-wheeler space where the giants are coming?
Nabil, in my opinion, if these giants are coming and people are coming with a lots of investment, it's a good for the industry. Because if you see the overall two-wheeler industry is more than 20 million, but EV is less than about 1% only. So this there is a space for everyone to accommodate in that space, and the pie is so big, so everyone can get it. And I think this the time is not about the competition. This is a time about the awareness. More people will come, more awareness will come. So I think end of the day, the product is good, the customer acceptance is there, those company will survive for the future. And of course, it's a good thing people are coming, and there's no question of any fear or any competition for that.
Do you aspire to raise funds, or you will continue to remain bootstrapped and you will try to grow at your own pace?
Yeah, of course, we will in the pace of the like discussion is already happening, and of course, we will raise the fund for our next step.
What's your next step, if you could share?
Of course, we want to grab this market. As I told you, it's a less than 1% market, and the market size is so huge. So it's a good for us, so that we want to not only like the, of course, our first preference is for the Indian customer, but we want to be in this space as a global player, and we will go globally also.
You, Jitender, how will you differentiate yourself with other, e-scooter manufacturer or sellers, those who are there? Some of them are really well experienced. They have good team, strong team, strong backing from the big two-wheeler groups. So how do you want to differentiate yourself? Why will somebody come and buy Okinawa rather than some having a bigger brand image or some bigger legacy?
Okay, I'll tell you one thing. If you see, nobody is an expert of future. Okay, everybody is an expert of past. Okay, so this technology is new for everyone, whether it's Okinawa or somebody else. So the most important thing is, if you as a company, if you understand the consumer need, and we put ourselves in the consumer shoe, and we understand what they need, and if we provide them, I think at the end of the day, consumer is the god. If they accept your product, I think you will be the leader in the market. And that's how, as I told you, end of the day, whether it's a big legacy companies or maybe, of course, there is a lots of funds supporting the many companies, but end of the day, it's a demand and supply. What the consumer demand, and as a company, what you deliver to the consumer expectation, that is very important. And as a company, as a Okinawa, we always feel that we have to give the consumer what they have the demand, and we want to supply those demand to our consumer. And as a market, this, yeah, two wheeler is always a mass market. As I told you, Okinawa have a product of the family product. We don't want to go in a niche market or something like that. We want to go for the family product, then we go for, it means we are going for the mass. Our product should be acceptable mass market, then we can go forward.
Okay, thank you, Jitendra. Now it comes to end of this segment. Now we will move to the segment where we invite the expert for this episode, and I'm happy to announce the expert for this episode is Vinay Piparsania ji. He is the CEO at IIT Delhi's Endowment Fund, leading setup of the eminent IIT alumni, and he is a global veteran, automotive veteran. He has spent over 30 years in automobile industry, spanning with the companies like Ford, TVS, and other. And he has also exposure in different geographies: US, Asia Pacific, Middle East. Thank you so much, Vinay, for joining in. Let's start with your thought on what kind of future do you see for a startup like Okinawa when we see the giants taking the plunge in this, and how they should maneuver themselves to keep up with the raising competition in the e-scooter space. Over to you, Vinay. And you can also
Thank you.
ask 3 questions you have for Jitendra.
No, thank you, Nabeel, and a pleasure to meet you again, Jitendra. What I believe is happening here, what I really believe is happening here is we're in front of our eyes. I think we're actually seeing a David and Goliath story. As you know, as you just described, Nabil, we as MNCs have come into the country as giants, and try to succeed in different product categories. And to see Jitendra at his time and his, courage to take on this leap of faith of a category that, as he rightly said, it's all about the future. It's not about the past. But more importantly, there was no legacy. I mean, as you said, there was no brand at that time, and you were going to start from scratch. And you had the courage to actually invest not only in the product, but actually also in the capacity. Most people at that stage don't look at making the factory. They actually look at maybe licensing it out or using sort of a licensed manufacturing, taking, off the shelf kind of components. But you actually took the challenge of designing and actually making it even when you did not have scale. I mean, that's a very bold step. So I would just like to ask you this question that was a very high risk that you took. How did you even get people to believe in your, into your volumes, into your story? I mean, Okinawa, it's a very tough name to also say. How did you even establish the brand for such a product? So this is a very,
Vinay,
very interesting challenge. Yeah.
I just want to understand you are incubating a lot of startups in IIT Delhi. The setup that you have put in together at IIT Delhi is doing that. Looking at very closely with the startup, how do you see companies like Okinawa? You just talked about the brand name and all. What kind of future you see for these companies?
See, as you rightly mentioned before, Nabeel, what is your product differentiation? What is the gap in current products that the customer is not getting delivered, which you are looking at fulfilling? And not only an Indian customer, but a global customer. I think it's too big a risk to hedge to put all your bets on India. The best way to hedge the cyclic nature of a business like this, and given that the technology has to go in leaps and bounds, to have a global product, which therefore is ahead of the game and therefore offers a global market for you to also consider for your scale and for your volumes and for the future product introductions that you will also start investing in. So there really needs to be a long-term plan that you have. And given that you're bootstrapped, given that even from a customer pull standpoint, it's really hard to get retail financing for such products right now. How did you manage all these, Jitendra? Because I think the lesson over here is to achieve the volumes means you have to manage the ecosystem. To manage the ecosystem means that you really have to start discussing and collaborating and associating. And therefore, to have all that in place before you even launch the first product is a big challenge. But you almost, I mean, in 6 years, you've been able to achieve a lot. And I would say that two bold steps I would admire, and I think they're lessons for other startups. One is an electric vehicle to have it look exactly like an current ICE vehicle was a very bold step because that means you were featuring it, you were making the size compatible, you were making the power compatible. Your courage to actually design that before you launch means that you've had to study your market extremely detailed, right? To have that information and knowledge is the lesson learned for all startups. Do not be a product-led company. Be a company that is based upon the overall ecosystem that also has to get created. If you don't bring that ecosystem along with you, the chances of you succeeding just with your product is going to be very difficult. So I think this is the same lesson that I think we try to explain to all startups, that go further than the product. Go further to the understanding of all the elements that you are depending upon to be also in place. So in the case of Jitendra, he looked at the upstream side. I think we haven't discussed at all about the downstream side. I mean, to get the kind of volumes that you're doing, you said you're at about 90,000 vehicles right now. You're aspiring to be a million vehicles in another 3-4 years, and you're already committing 250 crores for that capacity ahead of you. I mean, do you believe that you can do that? Can you raise the funds now that you have reached this volume? Have you got that confidence of your investors who are going to support you? These are fundamental questions that I think if you can validate it, then I think that would be very encouraging to other startups.
Sure, Vinay. I think the lots of question has come to me. So I'll come one by one. So if you talk about the vehicles, like how it appears, what is the size, what about the performance? When I want to start this company, 6 months I did only the research work in the different part of India. I went to the different villages of India where the people were using the electric vehicle that time, which were available. So the three things was there that time. First is the look and feel, the size of the scooter that people talk about that. Second is the range anxiety, and third they talk about the performance, means the loading capacity and other things. Sometimes they told me. I remember one thing when I went to one of the village in the rural area of Haryana. So there was a one to there is a family. I talked to them about the product. So their children told me, uncle, sometimes it's happen like this. मैं जब स्कूटर लेके जाता हूँ तो साइकिल वाला मेरे से आगे चला जाता है. It was like that. So this was the perception about the electric vehicle that time. So the first thing comes in my mind, once I launch it, it will be high speed product. Second thing, it will be look wise same as the IC engine, where the perception should change, and must have loading capacity and the range anxiety, because the people always have that myth once they come out from their home whether they can go back or not. So these are the things which was comes in the consumer mind, and I want to resolve those myth about the EV, and we come with our first product in 2017 with all breaking all this myth. Second thing, as a entrepreneur, the most important thing, the challenge that time, how to develop the product, how to develop the parts, how to bring the suppliers on board. They want to develop the product for the Okinawa, because we don't have any legacy, we don't have any brand that time actually. So this was the another ecosystem. Once we launch it, how we will bring the financing for the consumer and how to make the dealers, because we have not the only digital platform, we have like offline sales that time, and that is a normal mechanism where the automobile is sold all over the India. So the important thing is how we'll bring the suppliers on board. So we discussed, because as my tenure was in the past 20 years in the supply chain only, like supply quality assurance, I talked to many suppliers, and some supplier believe on me. They understand my passion about the product. They understand the technology, and of course, they understand the future, because they understand if they will invest today, they are investing for future. Because if they will work with Okinawa, of course, in the future somebody will come, so they can be on board very easily for them. And that time in 2012, the FAME 1 was announced by the government. So people also start understanding, of course, it's not today, but of course, future, I think is going to be happening for the EV. So that's why we convince the our suppliers, when we make the prototype, we shown to our supplier like this we have made. Is it okay? What do you think? It is a future. So some supplier they accept it and they come on the Okinawa board. But sometimes some supplier they refuse. They said, Mr. Sharma, it's difficult. I think the volumes are not there, so we could not. I said, okay, it's okay. So that time the challenges were like this. Anyway, we make that. Then the first important thing, you have to make the first 10 dealers. That is very important and very difficult also, because they have to believe on you, because they are investing on you. That is the most important thing, and that is possible. We have to give the touch and feel about the product to those dealers, to the market, because that time the EV is new. The perception was very wrong about the EV. So once we made our vehicle, we given to our dealers. We call a conference. We show their product. They drive the vehicle. They understand. Oh, this scooter is better than IC, and it is comparable with IC. So some that time I remember in the first phase we could made around 20 dealers in India in the first, I think, 3 months. and that is a good achievement for us as a Okinawa. Third thing is how to sell it, because dealer asked me how they will do the retail finance. That time there is no retail finance for the EV especially. I remember that time I talked to one of the bank, their national head in their headquarter in Mumbai. So I talked to them. They said, Mr. Sharma, it's not easy. It's very difficult. We could not finance you. I asked him why. They said we already burnt our hand with some other company. People buy the product after 2 3 months. They give back the product and they don't want to pay the installment. But then I told him, okay, gentlemen, if you are talking about the quality of the product, I spent 20 years in the quality operations of this supply quality. Okay, you don't want to retail finance it, it's okay, but you just tried our product. And I remember they asked me for 1 month that product in their Delhi zonal office. They tried it, and after 1.5 months, the gentleman called me. They want, Mr. Sharma, we want to do the business with you. And that was the day from 2017. They are financing our product pan India at all our dealership. So of course that was this time, because as you rightly said, Mr. Vinay, ecosystem is very important. Well, starting from scratch, how you will do the sale, that is very important for the consumer point of view. And after that, the most important thing is your service to your consumer, your availability of spare parts to your consumer. For the EV, that is also very important. So anyway, with our team, our efforts, we could manage and we could able to make that ecosystem that time, and we could deliver. And we are very proudly said we could deliver to our consumer a good product at a reasonable cost. And as a company, we always believes in three principles. One, we call it that is a quality, reasonable, good quality as reasonable cost with the after sales service. That is our principle for Okinawa, and we are working on that.
And I think, go ahead.
Yeah, just want to understand. You said that unlike others, you were able to design the parts of the product. So I just want to understand, when you are bootstrapped, you don't have that much of fund. Designing and development needs a lot of infrastructure, people, high skill people, R&D people. So how did you manage? Did you outsource it, or what did you do it for? Just for the information of other,
Yeah.
who wants to come into this space, because this is seen as one of the costliest affair.
Yeah. So Nabil, when we started this company, initially we started with this company with the 5 people. Okay, 5 to 6 person was there, and we started our company at the 1,000 square feet office only. Okay, then starting from that, and today we are more than 350 people. Okay, in last for 5 years. So of course, as you rightly said, design, total design. If you see talk about that, even the Honda, even the Hero Motor, nobody does everything in house. There is a lots of activity we have to do at the third party outside, outsourcing of that. Of course, we were doing that like the clay molding. Okay, nobody makes here, so we also do the clay molding outside. So there is a lots of things. The design part we do in house. Some software we have in house. We are doing in house, and but the lots of things which we have to create that thing. We are taking the some design houses, we are taking the support from design house, and we are doing in that way. That was our process of doing the designing of the product.
Okay. And so, Sharmaji, I mean, I'd really like to ask now that you got yourself into the scooter category. And as we all know, the scooter category is about 30% of our two-wheeler market. Now, the two-wheeler market is about 20 million that we have right now. And, 70% of that, almost 14 million, 15 million, are motorcycles. Do you have a plan to actually get into that category? Is that a sort of a part of your plan moving forward? And given the kind of investment, as you just said, on products that have to be made right now, how do you see getting into that category and ensuring that your growth could remain sustained and steady?
Okay. So Vinay, you rightly said, I think 2 years back we already showcased our one prototype motorcycle, OK100, in an auto expo, and we are going to launch that motorcycle in this fiscal year, and that will be high speed motorcycle, and I would say you can compare with any IC engine 150cc motorcycle category. So that is going to launch in this year. We understand this market is 60% is done by the motorcycle, and remaining 40 45% is governed by the scooters. So we understand this market till today. I think most of the people are in the scooter category in the EV. We understand, and we understand the future also, and that's why we are coming in the motorcycle very soon, and that will be launched somewhere in the fourth quarter of this fiscal year.
Okay, and now then, how do you also see yourself, in the, like I said, this is a David and Goliath story, and we know we're seeing other giants who are looking to come in. You have another big player that just announced that they're going to, they're putting up a factory for 10 million capacity. 10 million is almost, it's already half the market. So how are you going to deal with somebody who's going to come in, possibly beat you on price, possibly beat you on, or even from a brand standpoint? How is it that you're going to deal with that?
As I told earlier also, I think nobody is the expert of future. Okay, this is technology is new for everyone, whether it's for Okinawa. At least we already had our experience in the market for last 5 years. Whatever the problems comes in, we took the countermeasure and we deliver the product after the countermeasure to the consumer. We understand this market very well. Whether it is a big giant are coming, they're investing so much money in that. That is not the reflection of the future. Of course, they are doing investment for present, and future nobody knows. Okay, so it all governed by the consumer, as I already earlier told to Nabeel, that consumer is the god. If they understand your product, if they feel your product is suitable for him, whosoever it is, if you are delivering the good service, good product at the right cost, of course the consumer will go for it. Just an example for the smartphone. When the smartphone comes in India, earlier the Nokia was the market leader that time. But once the smartphone comes in, and now you see the Nokia and the other smartphone, who is a leader, who is taking this market. So it depends upon how innovative you are, how you understand your market, how you understand your consumer. That is very important. And as I told earlier, also, automobile market is a mass market, and Okinawa always believe and we deliver our product as a family product. So we are just focused for the mass, and of course the mass accept Okinawa. And in last 5 years, at least we have built some brand. So people know in EV, people know Okinawa. So we already done very hard work on that, and I think we'll get the good response from market. And it's a good
But
thing that big players are coming, I would say.
okay. And Jitenji, then one other question that I would follow up on this one is that look, clearly you have a certain jump start right now with subsidies. While you don't have the scale, these subsidies are helping you sort of work on pricing. But if you don't have the kind of scale that some other players are going to have, how are you going to do it? Because the subsidy isn't going to last forever.
I think the subsidies incentive which government is giving, I think this is the right move of the government. They are supporting the initial time of this industry to grow. But I think it's not a lifelong process. It's not going to happen, as the government has already announced. In 2024, they are going to close this. And I think this 2 years is more than enough. The company to stable, to sustain. Because once the volume is coming, it's always this business is always a demand and supply. If the volume is there, of course your buying cost will reduce. So if you see in the IC engine, there is a no incentive is there, but the volume is 20 million. So that is the same applicable to EV also. In my opinion, if you talk about subsidy, people always think subsidy, it means it is not the right product, subsidized product. And I think future is not like that. Future is talk about the technology, future is talk about the innovation. And I think if after 2024, if the subsidy is not there, Okinawa can survive very well. And I think the other EV player will also survive because that time the scale is there, volume is there. So if the volume is there, I think no need the subsidy, I think.
But I have seen in China after subsidy was taken away, we saw the dip came in passenger vehicle category in electric vehicles. Uh, just one question from both of you. Just want to understand. I meet a lot of startups who are making electric scooters. All of them say that my product is highly localized. The quality of my product is much better than the others. So just want to understand, is there a fixed parameters? Do we have some factual parameters? Do we have some testing parameters which can really assure, is there a an institution that is going to bring out some kind of a standardization in terms of providing clear picture on what quality, like we have in passenger vehicle crash norms, etc. The build quality, the body stiffness or body build quality, everything is defined in the ICE engine. Is there something happening for EV also, for electric scooters? How do we judge which one is the best and which one is performing at what level. Vinay, with you,
So,
then
Okay, Nabeel, great point. And I think, the overall, there are different standards that are getting evolved. We know we have our ARAI, we have ICAT, and there's a lot of discussions right now with all stakeholders with regards to where it is that these standards must go into, one from an Indian standpoint, but also from a global standpoint. I think the best go-to position, as I mentioned that before, is to look at products that you make should be conforming to global standards. We have markets like in Europe and in North America where there are already standards being evolved. It's very important to keep abreast of all of those kind of standards, especially with regards to safety, materials, and also say, with regards to different compositions of chemistry, so that we can always adhere to one standard, which when the markets and the product that we develop, we can start offering it to other parts of the world also as a hedge, and also to demonstrate to our customers that we are making products of a global quality. So a lot of evolution is happening currently. But the point I think that we should try to do most, I would say stringently, is not to just go by the minimum level of standard. That is where most of the products start to get compromised. We have to look at what is relevant, but we also have to look at what it is that would be, would ensure that the customer confidence could get. Now, in the case of electric vehicles, you have the electric motors and you have the electric transmission. These are new products. But in the rest of the vehicle, the wheels, the brakes, the headlamps, all of these are already standardized. These exceed those standards to a point that they really meet customer expectations. The rest, you will have to, like Jitendra is doing, make standards that would be confident and would establish your brand. It is how your brand would get trusted, and therefore that makes for more longer term. The more you own your brand and the more you own your designs, the more confident I think you can make the customers. It is expensive, but it is one reassuring. The more important part is, can you get suppliers which you're making who are very global in their thing, that can also provide you those standards, and you can use those modules to be installed in your vehicle. That's another quick way to get started on your production and on your product definition and integration. Jitendra, what do you think?
yeah, yes, Vinay, you are rightly said. I'll just add two more things in that. First, like if you talk about the testing of the ARI, so normally when we do the ARI testing or the ICAT testing of the IC engine, there is a certain parameter for that. One is related to the emission and other is related to the mechanical strength and the other IS standards or AIS standard. So for the EV vehicle also, there is a lots of standard is already there for the high speed especially. I'm not talking about the slow speed because slow speed is always considered as compared to the like the bicycle standards. So there's testing is very nominal in the slow speed, but when we talk about the high speed, this testing is as good as the IC engine. Only there is a emission test is not there, but in the EV there is a EMC and the EMI test is there. But the other test is remain same for the brake test or maybe for other mechanical test also. So those tests is already happening in that. But by the same time, as a stakeholder, it's the responsibility of the OEM to follow the certain standard, which standard followed by the globally also. Like in case of Okinawa, we are using many suppliers. The suppliers already supplying to the good OEM in India, and they are also supplying to the global companies outside India also. So they already have a certain standard. They will not go beyond less than those standards. So that is a responsibility of a OEM to select the right partner who will be on the board to deliver the right quality and the good quality as per the OEM standard. And as a engineer, because I'm an engineer, I'm very peculiar about the quality of the product. So it's a, whether it's a minor thing, I involve in everything to understand whether it's a quality product we are making or not. If something is happening wrong, of course this is a responsibility of a OEM to take the action and give the countermeasure product to our market, to our consumer.
so I think complete architecture for electric vehicle has to change. The testing for every part, we cannot simply bring that and put it here. I think it needs to be revamped. That's what. It's been really beautiful conversation, but We'll continue the conversation with the questions from the audience, because since we have lost a lot of time, let's take quickly few questions from the audience. So first question is from Abhijit. He wants to understand how do you maintain the quality in terms of producing electric vehicle in India? He has asked on LinkedIn. So Jitendra, if you could answer, and then Vinay can supplement provide.
Okay. So I just add to this question. My answer is recently Okinawa has already qualified for the quality system for IATF 16948. So Okinawa in the OEM EV segment, I think we are the first company who are certified for the quality systems for that. So like we have a receiving system quality once the product comes in. So first we have a audit system at the supplier end. Same way when the product comes to the factory, our engineers qualify those product as per our drawings. They check the product. If it's qualified, then only we use the product. So we follow the same system which follows in the IC or the other OEMs. The system for the automobile standard is same. It is a responsibility and of the OEM whether they follow it or not. So as a company, it's our responsibility, and we follow the same quality system to adhere to those systems so that we can deliver the right quality as per our design and the development drawings.
Correct. No, and I would add over here is that the additional responsibility of also developing suppliers to also reach up to those standards. I think all OEMs take the burden of carrying the brand, and therefore that quality level that they assure the customer. It is therefore also the OEM's responsibility to ensure that whatever supplier they have are also maintaining those standards, they're complying with all the processes, as well as maintaining their certifications and carrying out audits as required to make sure that every product goes with that seal of approval and goes out only with that brand once everyone is satisfied that the vehicle passes all those tests. So it is absolutely right. It is the OEM responsibility to assure that.
Jitendra, next question. I would take this question. This gentleman want to understand what was the biggest challenge for you getting the certification, or what, and when do you expect to break even? How much you have invested, and when do you expect to break even your company?
I think you talk about the break even. We already at the break even. That is the thing, actually. So this is the policy of a company. Whatever we have invested, that is for the product quality. First of all, second thing is whatever we are earning, we are reinvesting in the company. Okay, so that is our philosophy. So how to do that? And of course, we already at the break even. And I think now we are, as I told you, we already going to the next step, our expansion plan. And of course, once we go in the expansion plan also, we know how to do this business, and we have to reasonably good quality product as a reasonable cost to deliver to our consumer.
What's your current revenue? What's your revenue, and what are you targeting in the short to long term?
We're talking about the numbers.
Revenue, yes.
If we talk about like this year, we are targeting three times what we did in the last year.
So what was last year?
We sold around 30,000 vehicles last year, and we are targeting three times for that.
Okay, and what is the cost, average cost of a vehicle for you?
It is around, you can consider 75,000.
Oh, oh. So one gentleman wants to know, how did the idea of Okinawa name came in? How did you choose this name? Uh,
So as I work in the Japanese company, I visit Japan many times. So I visit this island that is in the Japan. So that island called as Okinawa. The best part of this island is the nature, the people, like the environment. That is so pure. So once you go it, you love it actually. And I understand when I put the name of our company Okinawa, because we also have the green technology. There's no fossil fuel we are using. There's purely a there's no carbon footprint. So I thought in my mind, if it is happening in the other part of the world, why it cannot happen in India? So once the people will do the Google, they understand Okinawa. Oh, the people are doing in their country like this. We should also responsible as a responsible citizen. We should also adopt for the green technology, and we can do something for our next generation. So that was our idea to bring this name.
Jitendra, there's another question coming from Facebook user Farhad. He wants to know what are your future product plans in high speed and how are they going to be cost competitive with your competitors. You have answered it partially, but if you want to add further.
Yeah, I think this year we are coming with our two high-speed model. One, of course, the OK 100, that is a motorcycle, and one is the high-speed scooter which is coming. And if you talk about the pricing as of today we cannot disclose, but of course we always have a competitive price as compared to the other companies. And our benchmark is always which is affordable to their pockets, and people will go for the mass. So that will be our price point.
So you said last year you sold 30,000. So, right? And what was the sales in the first 2 years, 2017, 18, 18, 19, I mean?
I think that is a very wonderful question. Once I started this company, one of the gentlemen from this automobile, he was a veteran in the automobile, he told me, Mr. Sharma, as I told you, this is a society you are doing. You even cannot sell 500 scooters in a year. And fortunately, in first year, we could sell around 10,000 vehicles in first year. So
And
it is
second,
like this. Then, of course, then after that is around 27,000 vehicles is like this. And then it's come around 32,000.
okay. So the next question, just another user, he has not put his name. His question is, what is one fear that you sleep with or wake up to every morning? What is your biggest fear as an entrepreneur?
I think my main as a fear as an entrepreneur is the consumer should not lose confidence on Okinawa. Once I get up in the morning, I always pray to the God that they have whatever the faith they have shown in the last 4 years in the Okinawa, it should be always forever for me. Because we are not a legacy brand, but we made some brand and should be continue. That is my fear only.
You have a lot of content from China coming up. How easy it was to find component in China and import them and assemble here? One of the users asked this question.
I think, as I told you, when we started this company, in the first year of our launch, the day we launched, we were around 60% localized parts we were using in our product. And till today, we are more than 92%. And this financial year, we will be the
So are you
100%.
providing sell also 92%? How do you say? Because if you see cost wise, 40% is sell only.
Of course, I'll tell you the definition of the cell and the battery. Battery is a component for a vehicle, okay, and the cell is the raw material of a battery, okay. So if you see in the many IC engine till today, the many big companies, still they are using some component from outside India. They are not doing even the raw material. It's not coming 100% from India. So of course, as on today, the cell is not nobody makes in India. Of course, the government is doing lots of work on that side also, and probably another 2 years it is also going to manufacturing in India.
What about
So cell.
ECUs, starter, motors, all these you are localizing?
Sorry.
ECUs, starter motors, etc. All these are localized
Yeah,
for you.
yeah. Of course, there is only one component like motor. Of course, we are not making, but this is under testing only. And I think probably in this end of this quarter, I think we will localize those motor also. So that's why I told you in the end of this fiscal year, we will be the 100% localized part we'll use in Okinawa product other than cells.
One of the pain points that you want somebody to resolve that will help you scale up quickly or reach to your dream volumes or target that you have.
There's only two things. One is the awareness. People should know about awareness. Second thing, of course, the supply chain, like as you said, of course, is the like cells, lithium ion cells, the availability of the cells, because we already depend on outside India. So we have to do all these things in advance for 3 months or the 5 months planning for that, so that there will be no hiccups comes in our production. So I think these are the two things as on today: supply chain side, availability of the raw material for our suppliers, and second thing is this only. I think this is the main thing.
Vinay, if you have any question or you want to make a concluding remark, then we'll.
Uh, yep. No, I would say that the EV market is clearly reaching some kind of, I would say, it's reaching a inflection point. I think we are reaching a stage where the pricing between ICE vehicles and EVs is almost coming together. Scooters is clearly going to be the first frontier, and I think maintaining your pole position, within the first three, is going to get more and more challenging with more and more volumes coming in from other players. But I think, given the discipline with which you're going about it, maintaining quality, continuously developing more and more products, as well as owning the designs for yourself, which allows you the ownership of your brand, will ensure that if you manage it well, there could be a better reward for you. I think finally, the winner is going to be someone who's got the right equation: volume plus cost plus ownership of the designs that they have to take this product much forward. It is a David and Goliath story, and I believe a David is going to emerge. Yeah, size does not matter here. It is really more about who got the customer's understanding right. There's going to be the winner in this race. This is my
So
end.
that's it. Thank you so much, Jeetender and Vinayji, for joining ET Auto Startup Adda. Thank you so much, viewer, for joining us. See you next week with a new startup and new experts. Stay tuned and do post your questions with hashtag ET Auto Startup Adda. Stay tuned to ET Auto for all the news, updates, and analysis on automotive and mobility space. Thank you so much once again.